My name is Riley Hollenberg, and my major is environmental geosciences. I went to Bergen, Norway at UIB in the spring 2022 semester. I think that I always wanted to study abroad. I had some abroad experience in high school for a short amount of time, and I thought that I could take on a longer period of time and go somewhere different in college. And it did require me starting to plan quite early and check for universities I was interested in, but I eventually decided I really wanted to go to Scandinavia and Norway in particular. And so I found some classes that would fit in my schedule and just committed to it. I wasn't really expecting the academic schedule to be as it was. It was not what I was familiar with, and I wasn't really thinking it was going to be different than what I was used to. But it ended up being a different kind of format, and it was fine. Like I wasn't I wasn't too sure how I would do with larger classes, as in they were longer periods of time, but fewer classes. And I just had to kind of adjust my routine and get into a new rhythm, and it ended up working fine. And culturally it was beyond what I could have ever imagined. I really had no idea what Norwegian culture would be like besides what I had seen on like TV shows like Scum or just like social media. But it was incredible, and I learned so much from the people in my class who were mostly Norwegian, and they really took me under their wing and tried to introduce me and include me in a lot of their cultural events, which was so cool. I'm very grateful for that. I had a lot of great conversations with my classmates where we would just be talking about our lives and finding similarities and differences. In school, out of school. But I think the most memorable experience was when I was talking to a classmate after class, and she told me at first she was really nervous to talk to me in English because she was unsure of her accent and she didn't really have much confidence in it. But she said that when she was talking to me, it made her feel so comfortable, and she thinks she's grown so much with English and being able to communicate and feeling respected and feeling like I always try and understand her. And that, like, I asked her at the end of the year if she remembered saying that, and it was such a small moment in her life, but I remembered that for months. Like that felt so good to hear. My favorite moment would probably be watching the Northern Lights with my flatmates outside of our flat in Bergen, because it's really rare for the Northern Lights to come down that far in Norway, especially because Bergen is usually really cloudy. And it was just like the perfect weather conditions. Someone was tracking it on their phone, and we all went outside at the right time, and we all got to watch the Northern Lights together for like 2 hours. And it was such an incredible experience because some of us had seen them before, some of us had never thought that they would see them. And it was so cool to have that experience with all of my flatmates. I did take a Norwegian class for about 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks, I think. It was short, but we covered a lot, and it was really beneficial because it helped me feel more confident navigating through the city. I was able to read menus and road signs and just feel a bit more confident when I had to communicate to a local person. I liked Norwegian because I never thought that I would take a language class like that, and I didn't really have an interest in a language class like that before. But I realized that it was actually not too difficult for me to learn Norwegian. I could actually feel pretty confident in it pretty fast, especially being immersed in the culture. And that was like my fun class. But then the courses more related to my major, I took a geophysics class, which was with all Norwegian classmates. And at first, that was extremely intimidating because they had experience in geophysics before. I learned a lot more than I would have if I had just stuck to like doing lib eds. It was pretty scary to take like a major course in Norway with these students who have different experience and different backgrounds in the subject, but they really helped me like catch up, and it pushed me definitely. And now I'm interested in a subject that I never thought I would be interested in, because I would never have gone that in depth into the subject before if I took it in Minnesota. It was hard to leave behind like foods that I really liked. Um, Even like something as small and meaningless as like a bagel, or just a brand that I don't have in Norway, or that other people weren't even familiar with. And also, it was hard when my flat, which was mostly Europeans and a lot of them were German, and my class, who was all Norwegian, it would be hard when I'd be left out of conversations that were occurring between other people, which I know that I never expected anyone should speak English just because I was there. I really appreciated when they did, and I appreciated when I was included in the conversation. But it sometimes felt isolating when I couldn't participate in a conversation, even if it wasn't related to me. I would feel like just kind of lonely, and that I didn't know what was going on. And I do wish I could have communicated with people more from the start. Eventually, everyone became more comfortable, and we all made efforts to include each other in conversations like that. But yeah, at first it was definitely hard when I felt like there was a communication barrier. I saw a lot of ways and a lot of things that I liked in another culture that I could see reflected in my own, and a lot of things that I saw happening in Norway and happening in other parts of Europe with my flatmates and my classmates. Saw a lot of things that they did that I don't know, it made me appreciate what I was more familiar with. I was able to notice elements that I did and dislike when I was completely immersed into another culture. I think that I learned that I'm much more adaptable than I thought I was. And one of another thing that I struggled with at first is living with so many people in one flat and sharing a room. I was really concerned about my ability to be social and how I would adjust to like always being surrounded by people. But I am very proud of myself, because even though it's not forever, it was 6 months, that still is a long time. And I think that our ability in my flat to communicate our needs with each other and be good team players, even if it was something like cleaning up after we're cooking, I'm really proud how we were able to like come together and be a team and live together really peacefully and be respectful of each other and our spaces when we needed to take breaks. I definitely have an interest in the course that I took. I took geophysics, and that was something I wasn't really thinking about in the geosciences realm. I thought my experience freshman year in physics was so tough that I would never want to go back to anything with physics in the title. But I'm really glad that I tried that different class, because it was a different style of learning, something I really responded well to. And I think that's made me much more open to trying a different field in the future. And even learning Norwegian, I really hope that I can continue learning the language and improve my comprehension skills and maybe speaking skills. I think that would be a really cool thing to include in my studies if I can. I think you really have to be motivated, because academically, there's a lot that you have to do independently. It requires your full dedication during some parts of the year, and you have to be able to really focus during that time. But that was just my program. I know a lot of other students who had different schedules, and their classes were a bit more lenient, and you could do it on your own time. But for my course, you had to stay focused throughout the whole thing, even if there were Even if it was a beautiful day outside and you wanted to go skiing or you wanted to take a trip some weekend, you really had to watch those deadlines. But again, my class was actually more rigid than average for the university. In CSE, I know it can be really hard to find a time and a break in your schedule where it's feasible to study abroad. It's just something you have to plan for early, and it is possible to find reasonable courses at most universities and in most countries. And yeah, it did take a lot of planning ahead, but I'm very happy that I made it work, and I'm happy that I went where I wanted to go because I think I got a lot more out of it, and because where you're living is almost as important, if not more important, than what you're studying. So that was a very big factor for me, and I know for a lot of people it could be as well.